Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, right here in beautiful Fullerton, California. My name's Susie Rogers, and I'm the president of the Board of Trustees. Please join me in stating our purpose statement. We are a loving spiritual community, empowering all to live healthy and successful lives through practicing the principles of silence of mind. Thank you all for joining us today, and those that are watching us online. Before we start, I'd like to just remind us how grateful we are to all the first responders and those that we will never forget what occurred on 9/11. Next Sunday is the drawing for the Sizzling Summer Raffle. If you haven't been here before, it's very competitive. You'll be buying tickets through the whole time, watching who puts most tickets in. So please join us. It's also a potluck, so if you feel like bringing something to share and to eat, because where two or more of us are gathered, we eat, feel free to do that. We always have plenty of food, but we always eat more. Okay. Wednesday evening guided meditation is on break for a couple of weeks. It will resume on 9/28. Information on the 80th anniversary and Ricky Byers and Michael Gott concert fundraiser for the, I don't know how to say that word, but AHIAH, Center of Spiritual Living in Pasadena, is in the program. The event is on Saturday, 9/24. Please support them if you can. And if we send 15 or more people from our group, we will also receive some funds toward our center. And lastly, for those of you who have been around a long time, but you would remember in your heart a member, Carol Bridges. She was a member and a friend, made her transition on 8/1. There's a card for her in the back. Even if you didn't know her, you can send love to her family and caring. And now I'm done for now and ever today.
All right, so let's switch gears a little bit and take a deep breath. And join with me as we come together on this beautiful day in the consciousness of oneness, of unity, and of peace. We come together in this sacred moment to celebrate life, to hear the truth, to allow love to permeate every part of our being. Let go of what happened yesterday and allow ourselves to get into this present moment with our hearts open, our minds open, our consciousness fully awake and aware, knowing that right here, right now, God is. God is love, and love is who we are. And I speak a word of blessing for everyone here in the sanctuary and at home. I bless our friendly ushers and the greeters. Bless our volunteers to put together our coffee fellowship that we so love. I bless our wonderful music team, Richard and Debbie today, and Tommy behind the scenes. I bless my fellow practitioners for their loving prayer work. I bless our board of trustees who take care of the business of the church. And I bless the teachers and the children of our junior church. I bless our beautiful congregation here in person, at home, And a special blessing for Reverend Dr. Bill Salisbury for his dedication to our teaching, the truth, and to our congregation. And I bless this service knowing that it is already blessed, a blessing to everyone here and all who hear the message in the future. And I release my word into the law and let it be. And so it is.
I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still and let God love me. When this whole world starts to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me.
Good morning. My name is Tomoko Rosas, and I'm a practitioner at this beautiful center. And in honor of 9/11, I have chosen a reading. And it's about the story of the musical called Come From Away. But what happened was that I could not get through it without crying. So I had to choose something else. So I don't want to be blubbering up here. So if you like a copy of that reading, I have it in the office. But today I have chosen a reading by Dr. Terry Cole Whitaker, and it was written for the Science of Mind magazine, and it's called The Healing Secret of the Ages. According to the 7 Hermetic principles that give us the main operating concept for this virtual reality, everything in this reality is in motion. It vibrates. From the gentle whisper of butterfly wings to the most destructive weapons, everything has a frequency. All material objects are vibrations that emanate from our minds as sounds, with meanings given to us in the form of suggestions. Those suggestions take form with color and sound. Sounds kind of like what Reverend Bill talked about in August, right? Every healthy organ in the body has a specific vibration. Royale Rife made a machine that sends out healthy organ vibes, and the disease, unhealthy and misery-causing frequencies disappears. Healthy organs are the result. An organ is a musical instrument, as is our physical body, a temple of the living God. Various levels of emotion such as fear, anger, greed, and self-hatred generate disruptive and diseased frequencies, whereas feelings of enthusiasm, joy of being, and love are inspiring, enriching, and empowering. Ever notice when one car wheel is out of alignment, it throws the whole vehicle out of balance? In the same way, an angry and fearful person can trigger fear and anger in others if allowed, because consciousness is contagious. Our attitudes are vibrational. The lower ones are diseased. But when we are happy, enthused, and optimistic, we are in tune with the divine, and all is well. The earth, ether, and our physical bodies emanate natural and healthy electricity and vibrations, but almost all man-made electricity and technology is disrupted. We witness this as diseases, conflict, and destruction instead of beauty, vibrant health, and harmony for all, including animals. Although we cannot see these invisible frequencies, we feel them and experience the effects in our health, relationships, and emotions. Vibrational healing is an ancient system, and the topmost healing vibration is God consciousness, the mystic state of union with the divine. The best way to make sure we experience the most healing, nurturing, and life-affirming vibration is to stop mentally and emotionally torturing ourselves and surround yourself in nature and with loving, supportive people, just like we do here. Mindfully absorb yourself in the most empowering and enriching vibration through all your senses. Embody the expectancy of your ever-increasing good fortune. Please join me in prayer. Let us take a deep breath together once again and follow it within. Rest at the seat of your heart for a moment and become aware of the melding of your breath with the beating of your heart. Become conscious of the life force that animates your being. And know that God is this life force right at the center of your body. It is within us, surrounds us, and expresses through us as beauty, love, peace, compassion, and loving kindness, and so much more. We are one and inseparable from God as our breath is inseparable from our bodies. This is simply the truth of who we are. And from this place of truth, I speak my word for all of us here. Today I expand my perspective and open my heart even wider to include in my prayers all my brothers and sisters of the world family. All that I know and affirm for myself and my loved ones I extend to everyone in the world. Deep in our hearts, we share the same desires for peace, love, harmony, prosperity, happiness, and creative expression. Knowing that all these and more are our divine birthright and divine inheritance, and already exist in the mind of God. I simply allow it to manifest in its perfect way, in perfect timing. And this I declare and I affirm for everyone here and for everyone in the world. With heart full of gratitude, knowing this prayer has been heard and answered, I simply release my word into the law and let it be. And so it is.
Good morning. Spirit in me, live out in the open, shine from my life like the sun. Give of your goodness, conquer the darkness, Spirit of light and love. Spirit, Spirit in me. Give through me, speak through me, move through me, love through me, oh Spirit, Spirit in me, oh Spirit, Spirit in me.
Toby Ebert, ladies and gentlemen, and Richard O'Hara, come on. Have we been left in good hands or what today? Thank you so much. So good morning. I am Reverend Bill Salisbury, and as always, it's a pleasure to be here today. So continuing with our overarching theme for this month, how's that working for you? The title of today's talk is, Look What You Made Me Do. Just look what you made me do. There was another picture that Tommy had, and it was of a little boy pointing to his, obviously a little bit older brother, and saying the same thing. And come on, have any of us not done that at some time? Hopefully, because it's easy enough to do it as a child, right? We don't know any better. And God knows we can't take the blame for that broken vase, or that broken window, or the missing cookies. So rather than say, yeah, okay, I did it, we say, look what you made me do. I wasn't going to do it, he made me do it. Well, when we get a little bit more mature in our spirituality, we know that to be, how do I phrase this politely? Nonsense. We know that's nonsense. But still, don't we hear that sometimes from adults? From people who should know better? Yeah, I shouldn't say that. Because it's been my experience that you shouldn't necessarily know better if you haven't been taught better. So if you've come up in a surrounding such that you never saw compassion or empathy, forgiveness, how are you going to know that that's what's called for in a given situation? But still, by the time we get to be adults, if we're still using that, that's a whole other animal. Because look what you made me do, isn't that usually the excuse for or the precursor to abuse? Isn't it? Look what your behavior made me do. What kind of nonsense is that? I don't care what your behavior is, you can't make somebody do something because of it. And that holds not just for us individually and as family members and as members of a small community, that holds over a larger community. That holds between nations, doesn't it? Look what you made me do. You threw your teepee up on our ground. Look what you made us do. And look what you made me do on a national level ends up where? The only logical end of it is war. So it's some big grandiose scheme of look what you made me do, which is really only an excuse to do something either that you did already and you can't explain it, or you're going to do, or you wanted to do. And we can build all these grandiose symphonies around what we're doing, but grandiose never brought peace to anybody. What brings peace? Like our reading today. What brings peace is silence, like our song today. Be still and know God loves me. Let God love me. We can't be still if we're in that look what you made me do mode. Just isn't going to happen. Because that's an emotion completely, totally, 100% derived from fear. If we weren't afraid of something, we would have no reason to say that. And we would have no reason to do whatever it is that caused us to have to say that. To have to say that. Some words you learn early on you'd never have to use. Never, ever, shouldn't, mustn't. But when we catch that sort of behavior in children, that's what we call a teachable moment. So if we know enough to make that a teachable moment and give that child some sort of a grounding, of a basis, of a philosophy to live by where that's not necessary for him or her, we got a little bit of a leg up on it. We got a little bit of a head start. And we call that building character. And again, cities have character, towns have character, countries have character. So it's not just an individual thing, it's just talking about humanity in general in all its many guises and all its many iterations. So, I don't know if you ever heard of this guy, Andy Andrews. He's got a bunch of books. I've quoted his books before, and they're novels, but they're novels that bring truths to us. This one is called The Lost Choice. And in this, he's talking, not he as in Andy, he as in the main guy. Oh. He's talking to his son, who's young at the time, I think 11 years old. So we might have taught these sorts of lessons to children before they get to be 11, but still, we might still be teaching them through that age and longer. And what he says is, you must build your character daily, my son, and immediately. So, well, I know, I should be forgiving, and I know that I shouldn't have blamed so-and-so, but, well, later on I'll probably ease into that. No. The time to speak truth, the time to learn truth, the time to live truth is when? It's always right now. Even if it hurts. Oh, and it's going to hurt. Just because of the way the human condition is and the way that we go through life, it's going to hurt. All blossoms of tomorrow, and all weeds as well, are in the seeds you are sowing today. And your legacy will be decided by this one thing. For ultimately, no person can ever rise above the restrictions of his or her own character. Frustratingly, it seems at times that it can. Right? Don't we look at people and we say, I don't know a better word for it. That person is just a scoundrel. That person is a thief, a crook, a liar. But look at that position of power. Look how wealthy he is. Maybe all my training is not right. Maybe this is a foo-foo dream I'm living. Maybe it is okay to steal from people. Maybe it is okay to take other people's things as your own. Because look how well it works out for so many of those that do. And I have to admit that sometimes people can go through a long life of doing what we would normally call morally the wrong things and seem to have no cost for that. But somewhere along the line, it's going to even out. How many times you heard of what they call the deathbed confession or the deathbed conversion? Why do you think that is? Because even after years and years and years and years of doing something wrong, when it's time that you know you're moving on to the next plane, sometimes a little bit of fear sneaks in there. And even the atheists, don't they want to hedge their bets? Well, just in case, just that 1,000,000,000 chance that there is a God, I'm going to repent. But it doesn't really work that way. But the fact of the matter is, on another level it does, because once we understand that we're all in this together and that we're some part of the whole, when we're some part of that divine entity, remember, there's only one life. And that's not the bumper sticker. There's only one life. There is one life, and each of us gets to participate in that one life. So we say, don't we say, find your center? Well, at the center of my being, what's the difference between my center and your center? There is no difference. My center and your center are the same center. Every center is the same center. So when we build these grandiose schemes around, I don't know, retaliation, unforgiveness, non-compassion or empathy, who are we building it? Who are we throwing that at? Well, we're throwing it at us because our centers are the same. There's only one center. That's that divine consciousness within which we exist, and that permeates all of us. So, another quote from Andy. It is only by your hand, because he's talking about, well, okay, I'll agree, I'll go along with you, I'll think this. And haven't we all kind of done that at some point? Just to kind of get the pressure off. Well, okay. Oh yeah, you're right. And he says, it's only by your hand that the mind's choices bear fruit. Intentions are like physical beauty. They mean nothing. At some point, a person must actually do something. One's beliefs must become works. By your hand, you establish evidence for others in the truth of what you believe. So if we say that we believe in empathy and forgiveness and compassion and oneness and community, if we say we believe in that, and then we go do something harsh to somebody else, or we don't invite in somebody else, or we exclude somebody else, are we walking the walk? Because part and parcel of this philosophy is not just to talk the talk, it's to walk the walk. So, if we truly understand, and this is so hard to do. It's so hard to do. Because when somebody hurts you, really hurts you at an emotional level, or even a physical level, how easy is it at that moment to turn around and say, I forgive you? It's almost impossible. But that's the goal. Nobody said it was going to be easy, right? Didn't we hear that too? Life isn't fair. Life isn't easy. Yeah. Beg your pardon. Didn't promise you a rose garden. Remember that part? So in Ernest Holmes' little book, Observations, he's talking about the things that happen to us. Because again, well, I'll give you just like 15 seconds right here if you want, because anybody who has never had something untoward happen to them and felt they had to deal with something that was kind of ugly, you can get up and go, because this isn't for you. This is only for those of us who have experienced that sort of thing. And he says, psychology tells us and demonstrates scientifically that the experiences through which we pass are not so important as our emotional reactions to those experiences. Whether or not the experiences were good, bad, or indifferent, whether or not they were constructive or destructive, the continual emotional reaction to those experiences makes either for joy or woe in the present. The continued emotional responses. So, if somebody did something to you, don't we celebrate anniversaries? The wedding anniversaries, birth anniversaries, the anniversaries of our graduation or indoctrination in something or other. Yes, we do. But what if we were celebrating the anniversary of something really nasty that happened to us? What's the difference? We're still hanging on to those emotional ties, only we're doing it in a negative sense. Right? So I'm not saying that we should forget about our wedding anniversary. My God, I would never say that. But I think, if I was a high school rugby player and somebody fouled me and broke my arm, I don't think 35 years later I would be buying myself a sympathy card saying, so sorry he broke your arm. Since the present creates the future, which shall flow out of it, it also tends to produce what is going to happen to us in the future. So, and we do this all the time. We say this all the time, right? When is your future decided? It's decided right now. It's decided by the thoughts, the preponderance of thoughts that we have right now. It's decided by our ability to enjoy the enjoyable. And once we suffer through the not so enjoyable, we'll let it go. So let it go. When we hang on to it, what's that doing? You know, and I think I've talked about this before, but psychologists tell us that, you know, you get into an argument with your significant other. Ever had that happen? And then you start bringing up things in the past. Ever had that happen? And both of you get so angry and so irate and so emotional. And they say the reason for that is because you haven't really healed those wounds. So when they come back up again, you are immediately emotionally transported back to exactly the moment that you were having this in the first place. The reason that we have spiritual practices is so that we can help alleviate that. We've all driven somewhere. We've all driven somewhere and left here, went through traffic, got to wherever we were going 3 hours later, and we say, my God, I don't even remember making that drive. I don't remember passing this part. We've all done that. And the reason for that is we have practiced our driving and we have honed our driving skills so much that we don't need to be thinking about every move we make, everything we're doing in the car. We're on autopilot. We have practiced it. We know it. It's ingrained in us. Our body knows what to do. We might not even be thinking about it, but our eyes see something, our ears hear something, and we automatically adjust for it. Because of the practice we've had doing it. It's the same with spiritual practices. That's why we call them practices. Not take a class on them, file the notes in my binder on every once in a while if I need them and refer back to that. No, it's about practicing them all the time. Because when we do those practices, our spiritual nature comes forth without us having to actually think, okay, now this just happened to me, and I know I should be miffed about this. But no, on the other hand, I should be forgiving about this, and I should understand what caused this to happen in that person, and maybe even, my God, maybe even my part in it. Oh. But we don't have to do that when we've been practicing our forgiveness, our community, our sense of oneness. Well, this little book, Keys to Wisdom, from Ernest Holmes. And you can get these things everywhere. All the readings in here just come from the Science of Mind and from other, but it's so cut down. It's the Sunday talk kind of version. And he says, let us live as though today would be our last day on earth, which it might be, but at the same time, let us live as though we were never going to stop living. And I would say that carries over into let us forgive as if it was our last day on earth, because we don't want to move on with all that animosity piled up in us. But on the other hand, we want to forgive now too, because we don't want to be dragging that into the future. You ever been on a boat? Maybe you go to some exotic port and it's beautiful, you throw the anchor out, you let it drift back till it takes hold, break out the margaritas, the chips and salsa, and then all at once you remember, oh wait, I gotta go into port for something. So you put away on the table and the goodies, and you power off. If you forgot to pull the anchor up, you're not going to make very good headway. If we forget to pull our anchors up, how in the world are we ever going to move forward? If every time something happens to us and we refuse to let it go, because that's my right, well, it is my right. If I want to live my life like that, if I want to live all of my life overshadowed by emotion and anger and rage and inconsideration, it's my right to do that. Ernest also says, the infinite intelligence which surrounds us is limitless in its capacity to create, we know that, and infinite in its capacity to devise means to end. So when we say to ourselves, well, okay, I get it, the light came on, see a little light bulb above my head? But how in the world am I ever going to achieve this? How am I going to be accepting? How am I going to be forgiving? How am I going to be empathetic? We don't need to worry about that. In fact, we need to not say that. We need to stop immediately and say, whoa, not up to me, babe. All I'm going to do is I'm going to be still and let God love me. Love me and love through me. And I can't do that if I'm bogged down in those human emotions. We all have them. They come with us. Part of our job on this planet is to overcome them. So something happens or something hurts, you go, ouch? Of course you do. It's what we do. But we're not still going, ouch, 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months later. We should have got over that by now. Sometimes we say we are creators, which I think is a little bit of a misnomer, because we know that what we are is we are co-creators. So when we say we are co-creators, we create with the divine, with that infinite power that we have access to. When we allow it to flow through us, we are co-creating. We're not the power. We didn't make the power. We didn't create the power. We're the directors. That's how we co-create. The power is there for us to use, so we grab that hold of that power and we let it infuse us and we direct it. And as long as we keep that in mind, we don't need to worry about the means to that end, do we? All we have to do is say, you know what? I know there's an answer. I know there's a solution. I know the highest and best good for everybody is going to be had here. If I just get out of the way and allow that power to work through me, let me direct it into good. Let me forget about my anger. Let me forget about my rage. Let me forget about my disappointment for a minute. Let me just know this. What if the shoe was on the other foot? What if I was the one who caused this? Wouldn't I want forgiveness? Because you can't earn forgiveness, right? I mean, we don't deserve forgiveness. The person who faulted us doesn't deserve forgiveness. But that's what forgiveness is all about. Forgiveness is allowing it to happen and still not becoming separate from that person in spite of what happened. Because at our essence, remember, at our center, it is the same. It's identical. Science of mind. Had to go right to the source this time. We are given, or by the necessity of our nature have, the power and the necessity of using the law as though it existed solely for us. We can use the greatest power ever as if it was made just for us. You ever been somewhere and heard a song that somebody just wrote? And you thought, man, they made that song just for me. Or the ending to the movie? Oh yeah, they knew, like, they made that just for me. Or you hear a TED Talk? Oh yeah, that was just for me. That's that power. That power that is so infinite and eternal that can do anything is made solely for me. It goes in the direction in our mental affairs that we give it. It can have no other direction for us and no other. We are the directors. We direct this power. But of course, in the great whole, capital letters, great whole, the universe is not run on the scale of man's ignorance. Knowledge alone can free men from an ignorant and self-imposed bondage. It's that same power that can make us as free could ever be, or that same power that can put us in bondage. It's all in the way we use it. If I took one of these chairs and climbed up to the roof of the building, and I just held it over the edge, and I let it go, everybody knows what's going to happen. That chair is going to crash onto the blacktop. It just is. Because that's the way it is. I didn't have to let go of that chair and then run back down and do something to cause gravity to bring it down and to cause it to fall. I didn't have to do that at all. That's the way the power of God, the power of life, the power of Spirit works through us. We don't have to do anything except just give it a little nudge and steer it in this direction or that direction. And that's not by willing something. That's not willful. That's just by saying, okay, I'm out of the way. But God, if there's some good to be had, and there is, help me help you steer it in this direction. And that's where it's going to go. Because we have that power. So rather than saying, look what you made me do, wouldn't we all feel better if we were the one on the receiving end of look what you made me do, if we heard instead, let's work this out. I'm sorry, my bad. I let my emotions take over. But now my spirit is back steering this vehicle. Let's get together. Let's make this happen. Because we talk in this teaching about a world that works for everybody. We cannot make a world that works for everybody when we're holding on to grudges, when we're not forgiving, when we're not accepting totally and completely. Look at the master teacher Jesus. He didn't say, I'm going to come back and get you guys. I'm bringing my God with me. No, he said to them, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. We all do things in ignorance. We all have things done to us in ignorance. We have to understand that's just the way of the world. That's the humanness in us. And when that comes to the fore, our only solution, our only job, is to accept that as it is and not let our emotions take a toll on our next moment. Because our future is decided right now. Right now. Every minute, every second, our future is being decided by us. So I'd say let's We have that power. Let's choose a good one. So let's just take this into prayer, and let's just know together that infinite power, that power that is at bottom of all of creation, eternally and infinitely, is that power that courses through me and that I am allowed to direct. I am allowed to drive this power vehicle. I'm allowed to steer it in the direction that I wish for it to go in order to make my life and the lives of those around me near and far, worldwide, to be better. And it's just so great to know that this power is a power for good. And as long as I'm using it for good, and I'm including the goodness and the highest and best and the most significant potentiality for all, then I know that I'm using it in a correct fashion. And I know that as I do this, the world does become a better place. And as everybody else does this for his or herself, that the entire consciousness of the world lifts. And life does become better. And we do get closer to serving our purpose here on earth. And our purpose here on earth can only be a purpose for good, can only be a purpose for inclusion and community and joy and happiness. Can't be outside of that. And knowing this is the case, it's with a grateful heart I say, thank you, God, for allowing me to be part of this, for allowing me to be part of the team that steers this goodness into the planet. Now just let this word go, knowing that it is already done. Together we say, so it is. Let's just know that this is our opportunity to share our abundance. We know that all of our good comes from that one source, God, and for this we are eternally grateful. And let me just take a second to say thank you for this support, because it is that sustains this Fullerton Center for Spiritual Living. And for those of you who are not in the sanctuary yet, but watching from afar, thank you also. We know that hitting that donate button or mailing in or coming by and seeing Tomoko during the week is a great thing to have happen. So thank you very much. Together. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It's this thing called life.
It's this thing called life.
It's this thing called spirit.
It's this thing called spirit.
It's this thing called consciousness.
It's this thing called consciousness.
That consciousness is love.
That consciousness is love.
That love is me.
That love is me.
And I love you.
And I love love you.
Thank you, God in me.
Thank you, God in me.